This is Mr. CHINMAYGIRI. In the absence of Shivraj sir, I'll be continuing the syllabus for class 11 and class 12. So today we'll be studying arrays. In arrays, sir has completed one-dimensional array. Today we'll see what is a two-dimensional array and how to represent two-dimensional arrays and how to initialize, how to declare. We'll see some sample code here. So it can be easily identify how the elements are arranged in a two dimension. Okay. So firstly, so how to identify whether the given element is two-dimensional, one-dimensional, or three-dimensional. Okay. So based on the subscripts, we are going to identify in what format the given element is. Say for example, so we are studying two-dimensional. So in two-dimensional, so how to identify the given element is two or one-dimensional element. So if it is a two-dimensional, there will be two subscripts. Like two square brackets. Okay. So this is how we identify in what dimension the given element is. If it is a two subscripts, then it is a two-dimensional array. So next, in two-dimensional array, why we are going to use a two-dimensional array here? Okay, to display the elements in the form of rows and columns. So whenever you want to display the elements in the form of a tabular form, then we are going to use a two-dimensional array. So meaning is, so elements will display in the form of rows and columns. So elements will be displayed in the form of a rows and columns, that is nothing but a tabular. So the next point is, in two-dimensional array, the elements are going to be stored in row wise, right? So we are going to use a matrix format in two-dimensional array. So matrix applications, we will be using a two-dimensional array, but the values will be stored in the form of a row wise. Okay. So what elements will be stored row wise. So the next point is, so where we use this two-dimensional array at most, right? So in matrix applications we are going to be used. So matrix application, right? And the last point is, elements will be stored in row wise. So elements will be stored continuously, not only a single, continuously it will be stored in a row wise mode. So the next point will be, elements are stored continuously. In the form of a rows and columns. Okay, so these are the main points. So we can look forward to understand so better about the two-dimensional arrays. So the first point is, there will be two subscripts. How to identify the given element, whether it is a two-dimensional or one-dimensional. There will be two subscripts, and the elements are going to be displayed in the form of rows and columns, that is nothing but a tabular form. And the next point is, elements here stores in the form of a row wise. And the next one is, so where do you use this two-dimensional array? Matrix applications. And the next one is, elements are stored continuously. The memory location will be stored continuously in the form of a rows and the columns. So these are the important points to be considered when studying a two-dimensional array. Okay. So I take one example how these arrays, how these elements are stored in a array. So example 2 by 2. So how these elements will store? So 2 by 2 is nothing but a 2 rows and 2 columns, and there will be how many elements? 4 elements. 2 rows and 2 columns. So we can write here row 2, columns will be 2. So how to represent in the form of a matrix? So I take a 2 by 2. So take any elements, right? So take any of the 4 elements here. So the index value of a 10, the element 10. What is the address of this 10 in the matrix format in a array? So how to identify? So we can say that this is the first row and the first column. So how to represent in the form of an array here? So we take it as 0, 0. So 0, 0 is nothing but a first row, first column, right? So index value in C language or any of the languages. So we are going to start with the zeros only. Okay. Okay. So this is the first element. That's the address or index value of a 10 is a 0, 0. So if we go like this, so first it will complete the first row, then it will go to the second row. As I said already, the elements will be stored in the form of a row wise, right? So the next element is 20. So since we are still in the first row, so I will take it as the first row as a 0, and we are in the second column, so we can take it as a 1. So this is the index value, the 20 element. So 20 element index value is a 0, 1. Sorry, it is not a 20th element. So 20, the value is a 20 here, and the element, index value will be 0, 1. And move to the second row. So second row we need to mention by using 1 here, right? And it is in the first column. So take it as a 0, right? So this is the index value of a 30. Next one, what is the 40? So we are in the first row. So I have to take, second row 1 and the second column 1. So these are the arrays of an element, we can say, by 2 by 2 value. Right? So this is how we represent. Okay. So next we'll see how to initialize and declare the elements in a array. How to declare or initialize the elements in two-dimensional array. So I'll take first syntax here. So syntax first data type. Right? Then the name of the array, then row size, because we are maintaining the data format in the form of a row size, column size. Okay, so this is the syntax of a two-dimensional array, right? So data type I will be using here as an integer, right? Next, the name of an array, and take A, you can take any alphabets, any characters you can take here. So row size I will take it as a 3. So column size will be 3, right? So this is the data. So this is the syntax of a two-dimensional array. Integer is the data type I have used, and A is the name of my array, and the row size I have passed 3, and column size will be 3. Means how many elements will be there? So there will be 9 elements, right? There will be 9 elements. So how to represent this format in the form of what? Compile time. Whenever you are going to use a compile time, how it works? So we'll see here. So in compile time, 3 by 3 I have taken. So let me take some more values. So elements I will take here 10, 20, 30, 40. Right? So these are the elements I have taken in two-dimensional array. That is a 3 by 3. Right? Since we have a 9 elements here, but I have taken only 4 elements. So what about remaining 5 elements here? So how to represent it? So as I said, so the elements will be stored in a row wise here. So 10 will be stored first row, first column, right? So here 3 rows and 3 columns we have. So next, first row, second column. Next, first row, and this will be third column. Okay, my first row completes. Next, I'll move to the second row. That is the 40. So 40 will be first row and second row and first column. Okay, so this is how the values are going to be stored. Okay, in memory location. Right. So we can say this box actually these are going to be represented in the form of a memory location 10, 20, 30 and 40. Okay. So here we can represent 0, 0, 0, 1 and 0, 2 and next one is a 1, 0. But still I have 5 more elements. That how to represent that we can see in a matrix format. Okay, so I take a matrix here 3 plus 3, right? So what is my first row? 10, 20, 30. So these things 10, 30, 40, 10, 20, 30, and the 40 will be in the next row. Okay, so the remaining 5 elements will be 0. Okay, so this is the representation of a two-dimensional array in what form? In compile time. So whenever you want to use a compile time, whenever you want to display in the form of a compile time, so that you can use these formats, right? Okay. So how to use the same thing in a runtime? That we'll see by using some small code is there. So let me go from here. For I is equal to 0, I is less than rho, I plus. Okay. So next, for j is equal to 0, j is less than 4 out. This is not j plus. Let's go to value. Right? So this is the one small code. So how to use a two-dimensional array in the runtime? Okay. So I'll take rows. I'll take here as a 2 and columns that we take as a 2. Right? 2 and 2. So how logically it works? See, I is equal to 0. Initially it was a 0, and j is also a 0. So I is equal to 0 and j is equal to 0 first. Okay. So let me start from here. There to use a two-dimensional array in runtime, so we need to use what? Nested loops. Okay. So nested loop means what? Loop within the loop. So here I have taken 2 loops. So this is for row. This is for row, and this will be for columns. Right? Okay. So initially it is a 0, I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0. The number of rows I have taken as a 2 and columns I have taken it as a 2. Okay. Let us know how it works. So I is equal to 0. So the condition is I less than rows. I less than rows is nothing but a 0 less than. So rows I have taken it as a 2. Right? So this condition satisfies. Then the control will move to the inside the loop. Then what? J is equal to 0 we have. So 0 is less than 2. So this condition is also satisfies. So this is for columns I'm taking, and this is for the rows. So both the conditions get satisfies. Then what is the value of an array here? 0 and 0. Right? So this is for row and this is for the column. Right? Next one. So once the condition got satisfies, then the value of the j will get incremented. So 0 becomes 1 here. Once again, so 1 is going to be checked with the condition, that is 1. So columns we have taken it as a 2 here. So 1 is less than 2. The condition gets satisfies, right? Then we can go with 0. So I value is a 0 we have, and j value we are having it as a 1. Okay, again this condition satisfies, the loop will be iterate once again here itself. So then the j value, the value of a j becomes a 2 here. Once again we check the condition whether 2 is less than or 2 is greater than 2. No, the condition gets fails here. Then what? The loop will move to the first out of the loop. Right? So what is the condition here we have? So 2 is less than 2, the condition got failed, then we go to the I is equal to, then again we go to the row loop, that is a row loop, outside the loop, then what? So I initially we have taken it as a 0, now it becomes what? I is equal to 1, right? Again 1 is less than 2, the condition gets satisfies, the loop will enter into the inside. Next what? J is equal to 0. Right? So 0 is less than 2. This condition also gets satisfies. Then what? I can write A. What? A is equal to 1. So that is my I value, and J is the 0 value. Right? So again, so J is going to be implemented once again. J is equal to 1. So let me check with the condition 1. The column we have taken as a 2. So this condition satisfies. Once again, I value will be 1 and j value will be 1. Okay. So next, so j value will be incremented once again 2. So check the condition whether 2 is less than 2. No, this condition gets fails. Then again we go to the first loop. Right. So initially, so in previously, so I was 1. Now it becomes a 2. Once again you check the condition. 2 is less than 2, this condition gets failed, then the loop will come out of the loop, then it gets executes. So what are the elements we got from the when we take a rows 2 and columns 2? So the first element is a of 0, 0, right? The second one is a of 0, 1, this one. Right? And the third one is a of 1, 0, and the fourth one is a of 1, 1. So these are the elements of an array we got when we took a rows 2 and column 2. So this is how we are going to work in the run time. Right? Okay. So to use two-dimensional array in runtime, we have to use a nested loop. Means iteration we call loop is nothing but a iteration. Here we have taken a row separately and column separately, and I have taken a number of rows and number of columns. Here is the 2. Then so we have proved that. So how exactly it works in a runtime, right? So this is the two-dimensional array we have. So today we have learned how to identify the two-dimensional array. So that was the first point. By using a two subscripts, so we are going to identify the given element is a two-dimensional or a one-dimensional. So the next point is where and what is the use of using a two-dimensional array. So whenever you want to display the matrix format, that is a tabular form in the form of rows and columns, then we are going to use a two-dimensional array. And the next point was the elements are going to be stored in row wise. So, and continuously the memories of an elements are going to be stored in the row format only. Okay, so this was the fourth point. And where do you use this two-dimensional array is in a matrix application. So thereafter, so we have used a syntax of a two-dimensional array, followed with the data type as a name, how many number of rows, how many number of columns you want to pass to the particular two-dimensional array. Then we have used a compile time, how to use a two-dimension in the compile time, and also how to use a two-dimension in a runtime. So these are the things we have studied. So this is the fully theoretical part. So practically we need to prove in TurboC. So these things I'll explain by using a compiler in the system. Okay. Okay, let us go with the compiler. So how to use a two-dimensional array in C practically. Okay. So we'll take a new file here. Okay. So hash include IOStream for input and output. Next we have hash include .h, right? While right? Next, I'll declare and initialize later. I'll start with the logic now. Cout, enter the number of rows. Okay, so this is my print function. Let me close it. Next is cin will be rows here. Next, cout, enter the number of columns, right? So close this one. So you can see in columns, right? So after this, so I want to print one more statement here, that is cout, enter the elements. Enter the elements. Okay. So next, so as I said, whenever we are using two-dimensional array, so we need to use a nested loop. So means as I have explained in the board, so how to initialize the value, so how logically it is going to be proved. So now we go with the for loop here. For I is equal to 0, I is less than rows, and I is going to be incremented. See here, whenever the I is equal to 0, I and the number of rows we have taken 2. If 0 means the condition will be 0 less than 2, so condition will be proved, and the loop will go to the next for loop. For j is equal to 0, j is less than false, right, and j plus plus. See here, when I take a I is equal to 0, the number of rows we have taken 2, so 0 less than 2 condition proved. Next it will go to the next loop. Then what, j is equal to 0 here, so 0 less than column, again we have taken a 2 here. Then what, so condition is going to be satisfied, and the first element of the row is going to be framed. So this will continue until the number of rows and number of columns satisfies the condition. Okay. So next, for loop. After for loop, So we have read the values. So a of I and j, right? So close this. Next, again I'll make one more statement here. What? Enter the elements of an array. Elements of an array. Okay, so close this. So this is done. So now I want to display the value here. So I want to display. So I'll be using again same for loops. Two loops have been used. Again I'll be using the same loops here. I is equal to 0. I is less than row, and I is incremented if it is true. So next, for j is equal to 0, j is less than columns, then the j is going to be incremented. Okay, so this I want to print. So print C out a of I and j. So I want to take it to the next line. So T here. So let me close it. Let's close it. Next, C out slash n for the new line. Okay. So let's see it. So close the two curly. First to compile it. So go to the compile. 5 errors are there. Okay, so not initialize any of the values here. Okay, let me initialize integer. So I have taken I, j. Next what rows we have taken, and then calls. So next array we need to take. Let me take it as a so a 10. So 10. So means what? So total 100 elements will be there. So let me run it. So 0 error, it is running. So next go to the run. So run it. So enter the number of rows. I'll give 2 here, and enter the number of columns. Again 2 here. So 2 is nothing but a 4 elements I have to use here. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So when I give an enter, so the elements will be represented in the form of a two rows and 2 columns. So let me make it as in a systematic way. Enter the elements of an array. How to use the new line here. Right. Once again run. Okay. Number of elements 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it is working now. So for enter the elements also we should go new line so that it looks systematically /n. Right. Once again you go to run. Okay, number of rows, number of columns. So 3, 4. Okay, 3, 4 it is getting. So but previous result also it is displaying. So if you don't want to display the previous result, then you should use what? Clear screen function, CLR SCR. So all the previous results are going to be erased. So when you go to the run, so all the things have been erased. I'll take 3 columns here, 3 rows and 3 columns. Let me take 3 is nothing but a, so 9 elements I have to enter. Okay, so randomly any elements you can enter. Okay, so 3 into 3 rows, 3 columns, right? So this is how we do it in a 2-dimensional array practically, right? So we'll discuss more examples on 2-dimensional array in the next class. Thank you.